Hi, everybody.
Oh,
Oh, my
Hi.
goodness. Oh,
hello.
so Bill, do we have a quorum?
I think we do. We have, is Jerry's the only one I haven't seen it? Oh, wait a minute.
Jerry's on.
Jerry's here.
Oh, there he is. There he is. You flew under the radar.
I did.
Zoe, I'll
I
leave it to
believe
you.
we have a full board.
Is everybody who's attended the meeting visible on this Zoom?
I'm not, just because I haven't gotten my camera going and I don't know why, because I did a Zoom 2 days ago and it was. So if you don't mind, I'm just not visible. But it's Jackie.
Anyone attending, regardless of whether we can see their camera, is on the participants list, which you should be able to show from your Zoom menu.
Right, I expected some other people and then they're not showing. Is it possible that if they attend the meeting, they should be evident at the top of the screen?
Yes.
Okay,
All right, so we've got a full quorum. This is the Maynard Zoning Board of Appeals. I'll call the meeting to order. It's 7:03 PM on August 25th. Our members here present. I'm Paul Shiner, the chairman of the zoning board. And Brad, introduce yourself. You're on mute.
Brad Schultz, member.
Okay. John?
John Corville, member.
Now, John, you are going to be recusing yourself on this one.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Leslie?
Leslie Bryant, zoning board member.
Okay. Jackie?
Jackie Downing, alternate member tonight.
And Jerry?
Jerry Calvert, zoning board member.
Okay. And so just to give you the statistics here, I keep getting the numbers mixed up, Bill. To pass a vote, we need how many out of how many?
Bill is trying to rejoin the meeting at the moment.
All right.
I
Can
can
you tell
answer. I can answer the question, Mr.
Please.
Chair. This is Lisa Mead, Town Council. You need 4 votes to approve a special permit.
Thank you. And we will have how many people voting? 5?
So Ms. Downing suggested that she was an alternate, but if she's attended the other meetings,
Yes,
then you have 5 with her.
that's right, because John is recused.
Correct.
All right, so that's the story. And just to give you an introduction, that's Lisa Mead, Town Council. And she's here to keep me on the straight and narrow and to make sure that what we do is appropriate. If you wanted to say anything else, Lisa, or was that okay?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Great.
I have
And,
a question.
And on just let me finish the introductions, please.
Okay,
And on the other cameras here, we got town staff. We got Zoe.
Hi, I'm Zoe Peel. I'm the assistant town planner.
And has Bill rejoined us yet?
He is trying. We're having some internet connectivity issues at the office today.
Okay. So while he continues his trial, we have, it looks like 6 other people here. Could they please introduce themselves? Start with Graham.
Graham Lombardo. So I'm a neighbor. I live right behind Dan.
What is right behind?
9 Summit Street.
Thank
My
you.
property looks down over Dan's.
Then we have an Amanda.
Yeah, maybe you don't know yet, but with all the immigration stuff, I mean, we're not struggling.
Wonder if someone could mute themselves if they're not speaking. Yes, my name is Amanda. I live at 28 Walnut Street. Denny's property and ours actually share a driveway. We're right next door.
Thank you. Next one that I see on my selection of images is Michael Riley.
Good evening. I'm Michael Riley. I'm an associate attorney with Mead, Talman and Costa, and Lisa asked me to sit in and observe tonight.
Welcome. Then we have a Brad Jackson, or excuse me, Bernard Jackson.
No problem, Paul Bernard Jackson. I'm an observer thinking about joining the board as an alternate.
Thank you for being here.
You bet.
And then we have a Mark Price.
Yes, I'm also a neighbor of Danny's. We have an abutting driveway together. We've been neighbors for 23 or so years. So I'm here to speak on our relationship.
Thank you. And then we have somebody called F. Price.
I'm Mark and Amanda's son. Yeah, neighbor to Danny, 28 Walnut Street.
All right. Welcome, everybody. So the public hearing for tonight is for 3032 Walnut Street. It's been continued now. I believe this is the fourth meeting from this hearing. So pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Maynard Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a remote public hearing on Zoom video to hear all persons interested in the application filed by owner Daniel Cormier, 30-32 Walnut Street, Maynard. The subject property at 3032 Walnut Street is a two-family dwelling located in the general residential zoning district per sections 312 and 83 of the Maynard Protective Zoning Bylaws. The applicant seeks a special permit approval to operate an accessory home-based business type B at 3032 Walnut Street and to allow overnight outdoor parking of two additional commercial vehicles associated with the business on the property. So where we left off after the last meeting was a discussion of things that he might want to do to clean up, organize better his backyard. And we conducted a site visit on that this afternoon to see what he had done. And so here we are. This hopefully is, with all your other folks here at the meeting, going to be a culmination of this meeting, but let's see how we go tonight. So where do we begin? Let's start with the applicant. Where are you, Daniel?
Right here, yep.
You have any comments you want to add?
I do. I have a few. So I'd like to first address Brad Schultz directly.
Well, let's address the meeting because we're all here at the same meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, actually, the applicant is to address any and all comments and questions through the chair.
Okay. All right, then. To the chair. How does the declared handyman contractor and direct geographically close competitor as well as vice chair of this board not recognize a flagrant conflict of interest and not recuse himself? I feel highly confident that his behavior is motivated by forces other than the interests of this board's activities.
So you're talking about Brad?
I am.
Brad, do you have any comments to that?
Sure. I believe that there is no conflict of interest. I believe Mr. Cormier has met much different things than I do. And I basically am retired and I really don't even use my business as a source of income. It's more of a hobby for me. So the last time I did any work at Maynard was probably 3 years ago. And I've done a couple of jobs this year, one in Acton this year. And other than that, I've done things that are for friends that were well outside the Maynard area.
Okay, may I speak?
Is that to the-
I just have one more thing. I was also
Brett.
on the subcommittee, which drafted the rules and which eventually became bylaws for the type A and B subcommittee. I mean, type A and B home-based businesses, where I worked with Bill Crenshaw from the planning board on.
Mr. Chair, might I suggest that if the applicant has anything to add relative to his application in front of the board, that that's what he should speak to as opposed to these other personal questions?
Well, I feel that it's
Mr. Chair, I directed that to
sorry?
the chair.
okay.
So I hear what the attorney is suggesting, Daniel, and I think it's appropriate that you respond in kind that it is questions to the board about your application, the special permit.
Okay, I just feel as though there's a fly in the soup that has other interests and that it affects my outcome. And I don't feel that is a fair way of proceeding.
Mr. Chair, the member has already addressed that question, and my suggestion is if the applicant has anything to say to support his application, to further explain it to the board, then he should outline that for the board. Otherwise, the board can move on.
I'm
I
lack
said
of
that to the chair.
Thank you.
I don't know how to do that. I'm trying to do that. To the chair, I don't know how to proceed. I don't know what I'm trying to create a fair proceeding, and I don't know how to get that across, but I'm not a lawyer.
So your application for a special permit asked for parking of vehicles, storing of your sprayer device, and a few other odds and ends that I can't recall right at this moment. So if you have any comments or questions about that or a response to what we have learned over the last 3 or 4 meetings about that, I'd love to hear them now.
Okay, how I'll address that is I have a primary vehicle that has been deemed allowed. I have 2 other vehicles that those are the permits that I'm seeking to have. The third vehicle, the smallest vehicle, I had made the suggestion that I would try to register that personally. What I came across was that it's not able to be registered personally because the insurance annually is more than the vehicle was that I paid. It exceeds the value of the vehicle. We tried 9 different carriers. I cannot find any carrier to insure that personally. They seem to be a conflicting vehicle. The Registry of Motor Vehicles actually tried rescinding the registrations on those. I feel it's nonsensical that would be an issue with any neighbors, the use of that, while it mitigates the use of the other vehicles and allowing that to come and go for a lot of the errands that I do. So the other vehicle is the truck. So now this combination of vehicles is the way I've been for 23 years. And by having the abutters notice put out and nobody respond with any conflicts of interest or not conflicts of interest, but any voiced concerns about having those vehicles, I don't see how that should be disallowed with 23 years of experience. It's just my hope is that after all of this time and not ever having a complaint, and then the abutters notices also not garnering any resistance or opportunity to voice their concerns, that it should be allowed. There is no call for change among my abutters.
Is that the end of your comments?
It's not the way I saw this, envisioned this happening, but it's what I could piece together. That is probably the biggest thing, is that It's been peacefully existing for all this time. It's the board that's pushing this need to be permitted. The abutters don't seem to have any concern with it, or they would have made notice during the abutters notice. I'll have to concede there, I guess.
So thank you very much for your comments. My comment back to you on the 23 years of experience with no complaints means simply you were flying underneath the radar for 23 years. It has always been an issue in town that if you're running a business out of your home, you need a special permit. So that's the way it is. And so as we look, go ahead.
At some point, am I allowed to read a statement that I prepared on these?
Well, that's what I asked, if you had anything you wanted
All
to
right,
say.
okay, so I've got what I've prepared, and it goes through, and it does get a bit heavy-handed for the way that I feel this has been conducted. It does go into offering
So before you get into the details of this heavy-handedness, just remember that if you're saying things that could be inappropriate for advancing your case, it might be working against you.
I know. So it's been recommended to me that I approach this board with my hat in my hands. The way that I've been, so God, this is tough. I've been put under the microscope over not having the permits to have these vehicles, when it was up to me to go to the town to find out that I am the very first ever to be put to these standards, that they've been on the books for 3 years and not one person has filed an application for these permits. In 3 years, there's the application changed. In that process, it's been questions have been added to that to find out if somebody is a type B business, residential business in need of permits, but yet nothing has been put out to the town to notify them. Now, you'll tell me that it's up to the town members to follow the zoning board bylaws. Well, I can tell you that in 3 years, not one self-reporting of these bylaws and creating their permit or even asking for a permit, the word hasn't gotten out. So that how am I to be expected that with all of the businesses in town and not one showing up to file for a permit, that I am made to register for this by a complainant, that it seems like the tact is to wait for a resident to complain, then baptism by fire, and not take into account the abutters notices that garnered no.
Well, I don't want to get a tit for tat here, Daniel, but
it's a pretty significant thing.
Your facts are not accurate. We have had several special permits issued. I don't remember how many each year, but wherever you're getting your data, it's incomplete.
I'm getting it from Zoe Peel directly.
I can clarify that, which is that while we have had special permits for trade shops and for home-based businesses, we have not yet, under the new scheme of zoning bylaws that were adopted in town meeting, we have not yet had an application come before the zoning board for a type B home-based business application. We have had special permits that have been issued for home-based businesses for years under trade shop and under different special permit categories, but this is the very first that's come before this board under a type B home-based business under the newly adopted bylaw.
Thanks.
Mr. Chair, I think I'm just going to try to provide a little direction here. The reality is that the bylaw exists. Town meeting approved it. It was advertised and public hearings were held on it. So the bylaw exists. And so the question, I think, for the applicant is do you have anything to add to your application that would aid in the board in making its decision?
The response is always that I've had 23 years of flying under the radar. In 23 years, I've approached the town, asked what I needed in order to be compliant. I was told I needed to register with that town, which I've done and which I've maintained for all the years that I've been in business. This bylaw that apparently no one in town seems to be aware of by the lack of applications is it just seems unfair that I would be aware of these changes. What can I offer that would help the board in making that decision? I don't know, 23 years that I've been unaware that I've needed, and it's only been recently that I've needed to abide by these others. Now, I'm here, I'm being forced to. It's how I became aware of these bylaws. There's a lot that I want to say, but it doesn't, fit your question that you want answered. It's so loaded, but I'm tied to what you want. So I'll offer that. I mean, 23 years, never a complaint, didn't know there was any permit that needed to be requested. Had I known in advance, I might have better prepared and probably followed along. I mean, I just didn't know that I needed to. Here we are. It's a complainant that brings it to my table. I'm now defending myself against a board that I've never had any involvement with. The three vehicles, so the one is a primary vehicle that is allowed. The second vehicle I'm asking for a permit for, it has very little traffic. I am a single operator among all those vehicles. I am a sole proprietor. One person can only drive so many vehicles at one time. So the primary comes and goes. The secondary is there in waiting for that one chance that it needs to go to another location and return. The third vehicle is my little economical, way of diminishing the impacts on the neighborhood. This car is smaller than a VW Bug. It makes hardly any noise. It comes and goes. And to disallow that would only create more traffic using the bigger vehicles to bring myself around. I mean, it seems like a smart thing to have and use to appease the neighbors. I think that's my argument. The best I know how to give.
Well, thank you very much. So we have several members of the general public here. Is there anybody that wishes to speak in favor of Daniel's application?
I have no problem with it.
Graham, so
Absolutely.
Oh, could you please identify yourself for the record?
Graham Lombardo.
So when you say you have no problem with it, is there anything in support of that you wish to offer?
Just that he's trying to make a living and he uses it for, to make a living, and everything that he stated, how infrequently he uses it. It just doesn't seem to be a problem. And the fact that he's the first one to apply for this, whatever it is, this special license, is kind of silly, quite frankly. I mean, especially if this rule, it was implemented 3 years ago and not a single other small business owner has applied for it. I find it kind of laughable that now you're holding him, he's made to be, an example. Yeah, the bylaws are the bylaws. Yeah, but nobody knew about the bylaws. You guys didn't do that great of a job advertising it, apparently. If nobody else has applied, there's other small business owners in this town that clearly haven't applied for it.
So Graham, just to reiterate this bylaw, the town has had a bylaw in place that home-based businesses need to get a special permit and it's
Uh-huh.
been in there for at least the last 25 years, if not longer.
Uh-huh.
It's just that this 3-year-old thing is us rewriting it to make it simpler. And
Okay.
there's two kinds of home-based business. One's like you referenced that you don't even know they're there. That's fine. It's a matter of right. And they're the ones that disturb the neighborhood to some extent. That's type B. That's the kind that Daniel's looking for. He wants a type B home-based business, one that tends to have an outside impact to the neighborhood to some extent.
Sure.
That's what we're here for.
So this is all about aesthetics, though. Like this is about like the number of cars in this. I mean, I feel like it's so petty to begin with. The fact that there's a neighbor that complained about the number of cars that he has. Nobody else has ever complained. No neighbor has ever complained about it. I understand your bylaws, but you walk down the street and there's tons of small business owners that have multiple cars. Are you to now police everybody's backyards? I mean, it just seems unreasonable, and
Well,
to make Dan the example is just kind of sad. You're basically handicapping somebody who's trying to make a living doing what he does, and for no reason other than somebody filed some.
All right.
Fictitious,
You
complaint.
said your point. What I'm trying to get at is information to support or be in opposition to his petition. So if you had anything else to add, that would be great. But I don't want to get into a tit for tat kind of thing here. I'm just looking for the information from the neighbors.
The neighbors support Dan doing what he does, and the number of cars that he has in his neighborhood in his backyard really don't affect us. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll echo that as well. I've been Dan's neighbor for 23 years. He's run his business. He keeps his yard tidy, and we don't have any issue. I support his application. Just
Who is that, Mr. Chair? Could somebody identify themselves?
I think it was Mark Price.
28 Walnut Street, neighbor to Danny.
Yes, I would like to echo that. We've been neighbors with Daniel and his family since 2002. We share a driveway. We, if anyone, would have a bone to pick if it was an issue. I can't tell you how polite and respectful Danny and his family has been in sharing this tiny little driveway over the last 23 years. And our families have grown. There have been more drivers in and out, in and out. And never have I had an issue with Danny's business being run out of his property. Both Mark and I are also individual business owners. We run our businesses through our house. We don't need the backyard or the driveway to do it, but I incredibly respect people who take self-responsibility for helping to support themselves and their families and to contribute to the community. And I, for one, I've even accidentally done damage to his property. We have a very small driveway. I backed into his stairway once. And even with that, he was graceful and understanding. We understand as neighbors and community members the importance of supporting one another. And I feel some sadness recognizing that because there were recent bylaws that were put into place which were unbeknownst to Daniel and his family, that this special request would be denied. I fully support his request.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor?
Eric Pinnock, adjacent neighbor. If in as much as the permit appears to be for businesses that might cause disruption, I would certainly say it's no more disruptive than any other hobbyist. And in terms of traffic, I wouldn't have known the difference between an ordinary resident.
And where are you located?
11 Summit, the kitty corner backyard.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor of this application? Okay, Mac?
Hi, this is Mac Hathaway. I'm a neighbor on Walnut Street. I've been living next to or up the street from Danny for, I don't know, however long he's been here, I'm pretty sure. The couple of points that I would make, as a former planning board member, my understanding about bylaws is they're supposed to promote civic tranquility and, you know, get everybody to get along. I can honestly say that I don't think anything that Danny's been doing has done anything at all to disrupt civic tranquility. If anything, this situation points up some potential deficits in the bylaw in that they don't recognize, or perhaps are not as flexible as they need to be. And we ran across this all the time back when I was on the board. So it's, you know, but that's what special permits are for, is to allow situations that are not problematic to carry on. I can be absolutely honest in saying I had no idea how many vehicles he had. And I don't think a simple vehicle count can be relevant in this case, because, I mean, if it were problematic, then I would have at least known that they were there, and I had absolutely no idea. So it's clearly not a problem.
So where in Walnut Street are you?
I'm not, sorry, we're not Bancroft Street, up the cross Walnut Street, two doors away, basically. If it just strikes me, I mean, I appreciate the importance of having the bylaws, because you gotta have some kind of structure. But this is a perfect example of a situation where we allow a variance, or whatever we're going to call it, or whatever we can call it, to allow him to proceed, because there's absolutely no problem. One of the biggest problems we ran into, and which then all towns run into, is when people try to weaponize the bylaws because they're cranky or they're not happy with something. When the appropriate thing is to do is to put your head over the fence and say, hey, I'm going to bed now. It's all right if everybody settles down, or whatever, whether it's partying or whether it's anything. And Danny's just not a problem that way. I wasn't standing there when all this went down, but I'm just not seeing it. And I don't feel like, you know, potentially destroying somebody's livelihood is the goal of this bylaw. And the idea is to keep as many people happy as you can. And he's doing it. There's just absolutely no question.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Going once? Going twice? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to his application? Thank you. So, board members, any questions? Leslie?
Yeah, so there was mention made, I don't know if it was just kind of, I don't know. Was there originally a complaint by a neighbor? Is that what started all this, or?
I believe so.
Yeah, we had a letter we reviewed, did we not?
Okay, that's, yeah.
I believe there was original letter, and then there was a follow-up letter.
Mm-hmm.
So in fact, there has been a complaint.
Yeah,
Just
that
that
individual
person's not
isn't here tonight.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions, Leslie?
Oh, no.
Any other board members here? Jerry, anything?
Mr. Chair, no, I'm good. I'm good. At this point, I think I'm good. I think I'm prepared to discuss and deliberate.
All right, Brad?
Yeah, I have no further questions. I'm ready to discuss and deliberate.
Okay, who else? Where are we going? Jackie?
I appreciate what I've heard. and that people took the time to come to the meeting.
Okay, did I miss anybody? John's recused himself. So that, I believe that is the end of our fact gathering session. And so, Lisa, to make sure I don't say it the wrong way, what am I going to say at this point?
I'm going to take a motion to close the public hearing so the board can deliberate.
Thank you. Can somebody offer me such a motion?
I make a motion to close the public part of the meeting.
Second,
Jerry will second. All in favor by roll call? Brad? Yes.
Yes.
Jerry?
yes.
Leslie?
Yes.
Jackie? Jackie, are you there?
Jackie's muted.
Try again.
Still muted.
Jackie, you're still hiding behind a red X.
Sorry, that was my fault. I tried to ask her to unmute and I accidentally muted her in the process. Jackie, you should be able to unmute.
Try again, Jackie.
Okay, that should do it. Sorry.
And your answer is?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll be a yes. All right, so we have closed the public comment period of the meeting. And now we have to deliberate.
Alrighty.
And one thing we were looking at is all of the various conditions that are in the bylaws, considering adverse effects on the proposed not outweighing the beneficial impacts. And then we have a series of criteria that the board needs to reflect upon. Does the business owner reside on site and so forth? So board members, those are the key issues that we need to look at. And I propose that we go through them. It'll be a little tedious, but to just go through the criteria. And if we can take a vote on each one saying it's an issue, it's not an issue, and then we can move forward and come down to what criteria we need to deal with to either restrict, approve, or not approve his special permit.
Okay.
So the first item, social, economic, community needs served by the proposal. In other words, for him to continue with his trucks and other activities, is the adverse effect not outweighing the beneficial impacts?
Do you want us to vote yes or no, or do you just want us to say no if we feel?
Well, we can do it as formal or as informal. Lisa will probably tell me to do it formal. Is that right?
Well, I'm going to throw a little bit of a monkey wrench in here, Mr. Chair, only because the criteria that you started with are kind of the general overall criteria.
Okay.
And it may be easier, I think, if you go through the criteria, which are basically your findings in 8.3.62, which basically says, does he meet the basic requirements of the bylaw? So the first one being the business owner resides on site, right? So the answer to that, I think, is yes, right? So I think it might be more efficient if you went through that section first and then the second group in 8.3.6.3, and then back up to the general permit criteria. Because ostensibly, if he meets those and or if you have any other conditions, then you can do the findings in the general special permit criteria.
All right, so business owner residing on site, we're going through the requirements of 8.3.4 for the type A, which then brings in to type B, because type B is more impactful than type A. So in 8.3.4, actually 8.3.3, excuse me, general provisions for both, the business owner resides on site. Is that true? I think the answer is yes.
Yep.
The home-based business is incidental and secondary for use of the premises for dwelling.
Yes.
We agree on that?
Yes.
There shall be no change in the outside appearance of the premise, including buildings and grounds, that is not in keeping with the residential character and appearance of the neighborhood. That's the general provision requirement for both type A and type B accessory home-based business activities. There shall be no change in the outside appearance of the premise, building and grounds, that's not in keeping with the residential character and appearance of the neighborhood. Board members, what are your thoughts?
Mr. Chair, I guess I'll start that one off. That has been, as we're all very much aware, the main discussion or the bone of contention was how things looked, the appearance when you went up the side yard to the backyard. I know he's requesting extra vehicle parking, but that was the main request. There were other issues to your point of fitting into the neighborhood. We've made 3 site visits now. I will have to commend him. I think the yard looks quite nice. Quite nice. I think the yard, in my opinion, fits much better in the neighborhood now than it did when we made our first site visit.
Yes.
That's my opinion. That's what I've got to
Jackie,
say
you were
on
saying
that issue.
something?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Brad?
I do agree that there's been a great improvement. However, due to the number of vehicles that he has there, there's actually 4 vehicles plus a tractor. So it seems like it still looks like a business parking lot. And even though he's done a good job in screening some of the things, there's also a lot of business looking materials or business looking equipment around. So I'm kind of on the fence with giving that with agreeing that he's met that criteria.
Okay. The next item, no equipment or process shall be used in the home-based business that creates noise, vibration, glare, fumes, electrical interference, or odors detrimental to the safety, peace, comfort, and general welfare of the persons residing in the neighborhood. Any issues with that? I have not heard of any.
In the last letter, I think some noise was mentioned, but then I think we figured out that that was not the case because we discussed it. And I think that criterion was met last meeting, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and my conclusion on that, the neighbor was complaining while the applicant was cleaning up his yard.
Right, okay.
So we don't find an issue with the number 4 item there that I just read.
Right.
The home-based business shall not generate, use, or store hazardous materials or waste in quantities greater than associated with normal household use, other than as approved by the fire chief. He says he stores project waste in one of his vehicles. And so I would say that that one is an item to consider.
Has it been checked? I think it was checked. Did Mr. Cormier say? Because I remember discussing that as well.
Well, one of our last meetings, he was commenting about how complicated it is to go with half a load and takes time and all that. So he likes to get a full load before he goes to the dump. And we responded saying something about, well, why don't you have the client get rid of the junk? And that it didn't go anywhere, but that's the kind of conversation we had one of the previous meetings.
Yeah, and I thought that there had been a discussion, not with us, with Mr. Cormier, with the fire department. Does anyone else remember that?
Yeah, I had commented that the fire department tends to require a permit for dumpsters stored long period of time. And if he's storing material in the back of his truck for a long period of time, that's up to the fire chief. And he said that the fire chief didn't care.
Okay, that's what I remember. Okay.
So the next item is vehicles, parking, and traffic. Off-street parking provided for all of their commercial vehicles and trailers and non-resident employee vehicles. None of these vehicles shall be parked on the street. I don't think that's an issue because he has plenty of backyard that he's parking his vehicles in. Any parking area shall retain the character of the neighborhood. I don't know if it does. Commercial vehicles and equipment, significant portion of the backyard. It looks commercial rather than residential use of the property is my notes on that. Any comments? Brad?
Yeah, I have to agree. There's a lot of things, items in the yard that I don't think he's going to use as a residential. I mean, for instance, there's a mower platform, which is, I mean, it's well screened, but there's a mower platform back there and a few other things that are, you know, like it looks like a grater blade and things that don't necessarily go to any of his equipment, I'm guessing. And I can't see how he's using that around his house. Especially, you know, the mower platform, which is like a power takeoff that you would put on a tractor. I don't think he's got that much yard where he would use one of those because he does have a riding mower. And we've all seen that there's not a lot growing there yet. Of course, he's been moving a lot of dirt around, so I can understand why he doesn't have lawn yet. And yeah, there's most every, I mean, there's a lot of area there that we've all seen, which is taken up by the commercial vehicles and the tents, which have a lot of the equipment in it and things like that.
Any other people make comments?
Am I allowed to interject to that one?
No. Jerry, Leslie, Jackie, any comments?
Mr. Chair, I mean, I would mirror what Brad just said. There is equipment back there that I agree, I do not believe it has to deal with the business per se, nor do I believe some of it has to deal with personal use. But I will give credit to the fact that he has shielded things. So from a neighbor standpoint and a backyard standpoint, things are not as visible, openly visible as they were during our first and or second visit. This visit, things looked a lot neater. Granted, I'd still like to have some of the things out of there, but that's just my personal preference. I think it looks a lot better. I don't disagree that some of the stuff could still be taken out, but the far cry from what it was, far cry. I think it looks pretty good.
Okay. Any other board members make comments? Want to make comments?
Mr. Chair, I just want to throw something out there for the board to consider. So this condition and a prior condition related to the commercial appearance seems to have flummoxed a couple of members. And so I would offer to the board, you could the answer is, could you think of a condition that would address this? That would satisfy the board, that if the condition were maintained, that that those criteria would be met.
And the one that comes to mind is to reduce the number of heavy accessories for a tractor and the number of vehicles, which is something that he's asking the permit for. Is to keep the heavy tractor and parts and the vehicles. Jackie?
May I just clarify a note on the application?
Yeah.
The components that are related to the excavator are not in the scope of this application, nor is the excavator itself. The application refers to only motor vehicles and the power sprayer.
That's on the application. The challenge here is that the bylaws are very clear, no heavy equipment.
Yeah, and we did discuss that, over 2,000 pounds.
Or 7,000, I think, or 5,000.
I only say this because of your statement that that is what was being requested. So I just want to make sure that that's clear.
All right, thank you. So just to continue on, the home-based business and any related activities shall not create traffic hazards or nuisances in the public right-of-ways. I don't see that's an issue. Any other comments on that? Motor vehicle used in conjunction with the home-based business and stored overnight on the property must be owned or leased by the operator of the business, with the vehicle's principal place of garaging recorded as the property address. I believe that's the case.
I believe he's shown us his registrations.
As or is not?
Yeah, as that is
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Motor vehicles, next item, motor vehicles or construction equipment used in conjunction with a home-based business that are equipped with backup alarms shall not be operated on the property. Pedestrian alert sounds required by national highway traffic for hybrid and electric vehicles excluded from this prohibition. He had commented that they're either defective or can be turned off, and he's willing to do that. So I don't believe that's an issue. The next item, light maintenance and preventative maintenance of the home-based business vehicles and business equipment is allowed outdoors. No other repair or maintenance of the business vehicles, construction equipment, or landscape equipment unless done indoors or without outward visible or audible evidence of the activity. I don't think that's an issue here. Is that right? And the next item here, more than one home-based business may be conducted. However, the combined business-related impact shall be considered when evaluating the terms of 8.3. So, trying to figure out what the second business is. I believe it's his power washing business because he was asking for that sprayer to be allowed. And that sprayer is not for the handyman stuff. The sprayer was for his dirty house business. So that's the second home-based business. Am I right on that, Brad?
I guess if you were to advertise it that way, but I would think that if you're running a home-based business as a handyman, that you do, and you have the equipment to do all sorts of things. That's what makes you handy. So you can do a lot of different things. So I think that would be just a piece of equipment that he would use as part of his handyman services.
Even though he's got a website showing that other business?
Well, that I don't know. I'm not privy to that.
Yeah. It was in one of those neighborly letters.
Oh, okay.
Jerry, any comments?
No, I was going to say exactly what Brad said, but I was unaware, Mr. Chair, of his advertising that as a separate business. If it was a part of handyman, I agree with Brad. Handyman, that's why they're called handy. They can do all kinds of things. I have no problem with that. I'd have more of a problem if it's two separate businesses. That's my comment. I thought it was all one. But if it's two, that's a different story.
Leslie, Jackie, any comments?
Well, maybe he needs to not be advertising that as a separate business, but I agree with Brad that it seems like something that a handyman might do, but that it shouldn't be considered a separate business.
Mr. Chair, may I?
That way.
Sure, Mr. Bill.
Okay, Bill Nemser, Planning Director. I have not, the board did receive the letter.
You just turned yourself off.
Oh, no.
Bill just killed himself, so.
Yeah, we have some internet connectivity issues going on. But I think he'll be rejoining the meeting momentarily.
All right.
Can I say one thing about the second business?
Yes.
If the second business is indeed a separate entity that he's trying to do or is advertised on the website, does it really make a lot of difference? I mean, for me, it doesn't make any difference because it still would fall under the handyman stuff. And I don't think he's picking up extra personnel and people working at his house to run the business. I think he's doing it as a sole proprietor, as just having a second business.
Yeah, I'm looking at his list of requests, and one of them is the allowance of the 25-gallon spraying equipment.
Sure.
So you can call it one business, call it two businesses.
Apologies, Mr. Chair, I got booted out somehow.
Yeah, you killed yourself. So go ahead. Now you can talk.
Yeah, we did hear this when we received the one of the butters that letters, and staff did research this, and as of the time of application and since, we have not been able to find any evidence there is a second business.
Well, the website was there. You just had to, correct the spelling of it, but it's there. So now those were the basic criteria for type A and type B. What separates a type B home-based business is the following criteria. And that, let me go through that list. The area of building space exclusively or regularly used by the home-based business is more than 25% of the gross floor area of the dwelling. And I don't think that's an issue.
No.
Use of an accessory building. I have too many notes. Use of an accessory building by the home-based business. Now we've got those two tarp tents, the car storage kind of tarps in his backyard. So there are two tarp structures used by this home-based business. Is that a big issue or not?
Mm-hmm.
Jackie?
No, I don't think so.
Anybody else?
I just think it adds to the overall appearance of the backyard and the overall coverage of, all the trucks and all the tents and all the, equipment around.
Okay. One or more non-resident employees working at the site at any one time. And my understanding is there are no non-resident employees. And then the next one, non-resident employee working on site other than weekdays between 9 and 5. Again, I don't think there are any non-resident employees. The next item, customers, clients, patients, students, other patrons on the home-based business. I don't think there are any. More than 2 business-related vehicle visits per day or more than 10 visits per week, other than business-related vehicle trips by residents of the dwelling and delivery vehicles. Again, I don't think that's an issue. Stop me, anybody there on the board, if I'm missing one. More than 2 customer, client, patients, or other patrons of the business on premises at any given time. Again, I don't think that's an issue. Use of more than a total of 1 on-street parking space by customers, clients, patients, so forth. I don't think that's an issue. The delivery or distribution of products and materials related to the home-based business by other than a passenger motor vehicle and so on. I don't think that's an issue. The next item, J, more than 1 commercial motor vehicle and 1 trailer used principally for the business parked outside. And this is where we have a challenge. There are 3 of them, 3 commercial vehicles parked outside overnight. So as we move forward on this, if we are to allow those or not is something we need to deal with. The next item, heavy construction equipment on the property. Yes, there is that tractor and what looks like some heavy implement tools that might be hooked up to it. Those are outside. The tractor is sort of in one of those tents. The next item, noise, vibration, glare, fume, odors discernible beyond the property line. And I don't believe that's an issue. Outdoor storage of equipment, materials, goods other than commercial vehicles. And I would say yes, there were some ladders stored out back. There were those heavy implements for the tractor stored out back. Business activities that take place outdoors on the property. And the outdoor business activities that I conclude for this is his trash collection and storage in the truck. So those are the specifics. And then we have the general conditions for a special permit. And here's where we come into those 6 items that Lisa suggested I postpone discussing. And so we had the first one, social, economic, community needs served by the proposal, traffic flow and safety, adequate of utilities and other public services. Those I don't think we have an issue with. The next one, the neighborhood character. Equipment, number of vehicles, accessory to the vehicles and other stuff in my notes here, contribute to a disruption of the neighborhood character. And that we might find ways, suggest to the petitioner, to lessen that impact. The next item, impacts on the natural environment. I don't believe there is anything there, contamination or pollution issues. And then the potential fiscal impact. He's been in business, continue in business, he should be paying taxes and all that good stuff. So as the dust settles on this list, it comes to the 3 commercial vehicles, a landscape tractor, outdoor storage of equipment, and outdoor storage of trash and so forth. And then the impact of that on the neighborhood character. So, board members, how do we proceed?
I have a suggestion. Let's taking one of these at a time. Is the one of them is the impact on the neighborhood. I believe that if we step back and look around, because we're all residents of Maynard and we've seen all the various neighborhoods, and we look at the neighborhood in particular that we're looking at, I do think that I don't see any other properties that have this commercial feel to it. Despite the fact that the neighbors say that there's no impact, and that they are good friends with this person, and he's been a good neighbor, and all these wonderful things, I think is great. But I think that we need to sort of look beyond that, and that's not part of our criteria for judging whether this is a negative impact on the neighborhood. I believe it is a negative impact on the neighborhood. And I'm not exactly sure if an easy way of getting around it. But I think that just because the neighbors think it's okay, I think the board should look at it as saying that, well, is this something that we should, do we agree with them that there is no impact on the neighborhood?
So that's an interesting point you raised, Brad. If I may comment on that, because most of the neighbors, I assume most of them, that came back and said good things about him and his lack of impact. And they are the immediate neighborhood for the most part. And so that might counter your argument a little bit.
I think that's our total challenge, is that we have to make sure that almost everyone's happy. And that's why we're here. And it is in black and white, but as was suggested, maybe we can have a condition going forward. Because the vehicles seem to be the sticking point. And to me, the tractor in addition just exacerbates it. As far as someone coming and looking and saying, is it residential or not? I mean, generally, it's great. It's just so nice that neighbors are backing this whole thing. And I understand that, but that's not our job. It's to make sure that we fulfill all of these definitions to the best of our ability. But maybe that's what a condition is for. That was suggested. Do you think we can suggest a condition in order to move forward, not get bogged down on this?
Well, I know I'm going to pick on Bill here because he likes to put up stockade fences and hide things. And if he made some big garages to park all of his trucks in, or most of his trucks, would that be enough? I'm being sort of silly here, but the point is, can you hide the stuff on site somehow?
Yeah.
And to do that, basically puts up a stockade fence, like a fortress, in the middle of his backyard, which sort of kinky.
Well, I know there's a cost. We've heard about, obviously a hardship of cost of doing things. But I know that being a handyman, that perhaps it will be a little less, because maybe that a barrier, a bigger barrier. I don't know. I think we have to get a little creative.
Well, may I chime in, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
I think if we step back and we look at what the applicant's asking for, in the case of the vehicles, for example, that is to me the most challenging. But there is a provision in the bylaws to allow more than one commercial vehicle, and it's to allow creative solutions. I think that in this case, the changes that you can see in the property it's remarkable. And so softening this, I think that if we could soften the view, and it's been certainly a lot improved, but with whether it's a softer a stockade fence, like you said, or the way it is, the whole purpose of this permit is to mitigate the impacts to the character of the neighborhood. We've heard from the neighbors. The neighbors are, by and large supportive, and I get that. And the board has correctly pointed out that their charge is to, look beyond that. But on the other hand, what is a neighborhood? So I think that if the vehicles have been softened to a point of where the neighbors are okay, and they don't feel that it's sticking out in a way that is obtrusive to the neighborhood, you could work with that, in my opinion. And you're right, I do like screening, and I do screen everything from, and that's that is true. So far, in my opinion, if I may, so far as materials and equipment, we do have a bit of a dilemma, because in many cases, if this was not coming before the board, a lot of the equipment would just be looked at as personal use. Maybe they use it for a commercial business, maybe they don't. But the good faith effort that was made, in my opinion, it went a long way on that, and I do see an improvement. And I do think that if the board is comfortable with the softening, or if they think it's adequate, of the vehicles, in my opinion, that meets the spirit. And I will, that, since I was invoked, that's what I think.
You can say whatever you want, as long as I let you say it.
Yes.
So the challenge for us is criteria. If we're to look at these vehicles as the challenge point, what kind of criteria could we impose to allow those vehicles to exist? The 3 road vehicles and the medium-sized landscape tractor. And how would we put that as to a criteria other than screening? And if he puts in screening, it doesn't do anything really, because he's got to open his screening to get them out every time he wants to use them.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yeah, please.
So a couple of conditions that you could consider are, for example, that they need to be parked in the rear of the property. That perhaps there's, I'm going to go to Bill's screening, perhaps along the front of the property, there's some, arborvitaes or something taller planted as opposed to fencing necessarily. But
yeah, let me pause you just for a moment. This property is on top of a rise.
Yeah, I just looked at it.
And so the backyard is the highest level ground, and the street is lower, the driveway goes up and so forth, and it's a narrow driveway to get to the back. So the vehicle parking needs to be in the back somehow.
Yeah,
that's the challenge. And I don't want to dictate the specific criteria to allow him to keep the tractors there, or the tractors and trucks and tractor. There we go. But it's either, to me, that it's either as is, or we try to mitigate the neighborhood impact somehow. And I don't have, arborvitaes or something. There's literally no room to plant something like that.
Right.
So that's our sticking point on that one. And then because of all of his activities, he's got those 2 storage building, or what's the structure? That's the technical word, a structure. And then he's got stuff outside of the structures that he's got, what do you call that zigzag stuff? Lattice work fencing that they sort of hide behind. And he's got, I think, 2 or maybe 3 of those lattice work things hiding different portions of his backyard. So to me, as a successful business, he should have been able, in my mind, to have gone beyond a backyard business and have a commercial business outside, with a locker building, with a warehouse kind of thing to store all of his big equipment and whatever. But he didn't go that route. He wanted to keep it local on his backyard. And that's where we run into the challenge. So we either let it go the way it is, which then gives us a precedent for future cases that come out like this, or we ask him to follow that neighborhood concept where was it? Oh, I got too many notes here.
While you're looking for that, Mr. Chair, I would remind the board that each decision is made on their own merits and they don't have any precedential value.
I hope to agree with you. The future cases are, have a chance to come back and deal with this in the wrong way.
Yep. No, I understand people are always going to come back and say that, but it's a fact. And I just want the board to make sure they understand that.
That's a good point.
So, Leslie, Jackie, I'd like you to give me your thoughts. Where do we go from here?
Well, from the beginning, excuse me, Leslie, I'll be quick. I've just been a little bit surprised, even though I know that the vehicles are needed for the business. After spending so much time and being so specific about what we needed, not to have one vehicle removed, to me is disappointing. And I I ran my own business too. I had neighbors. I had to have hearings when I put my business in my neighborhood. And believe me, it wasn't always a piece of cake, but I had to, abide. But I have a little problem with the fact that after hours and hours of meetings with a list of what we thought would make everybody happy without crushing a business, that there's still 3 vehicles and a tractor. But that's why I said, could we possibly have a condition, perhaps, maybe in a few months to remove a vehicle, or maybe there could be, like someone suggested, an open carport, just the skeleton of a garage, which could be, I don't know, I'm not a builder, but I have built and renovated, and that doesn't appear to be that prohibitive, but that's not my job. That's my thoughts.
All right. Thank you, Jackie. Very useful.
Yep.
Leslie.
Boy. Yes. The number of vehicles still, I still don't quite understand why it has to be 3 and not 2. And the yard definitely is improved, but it's still, it looks like a mishmash of this and that and this and that, and that isn't in keeping with the aesthetics of a neighborhood, but different people have different aesthetic values. I think that Mr. Cormier said that he was going to be retiring in a couple of years. Is that correct?
I think that's what I heard too.
You're muted.
You can't, the public hearing's closed.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he said he wanted to be there 5 more years.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, 5 years is a bit longer than I would. I don't know.
That's the way I feel, Leslie. I don't know. Jared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to comment in a couple of things. I agree with what everybody just said, what Leslie, what you said. I agree with town council and what she said about the fact that each case we have today or come up with 6 months or a year from today, make it or break it on their own merit. but we understand also how that works. You let it go here, why can't you let it go for me? You know, it just adds another dimension to another hearing for another property. And I'm a bit concerned about that. And that only because I've been involved in condo complexes for the last 40 years. And once you let one thing go, well, you let it go for them, why couldn't you let it go for me? It just, win or lose, it becomes a very tough sticking point. Skipping the legality portion of it. I think Mr. Cormier has done an excellent job in that backyard from when we made our first visit. And I
Yes.
already said that. I don't like I do not think it looks like a residential backyard. It looks more like one now than it did, but with 3 vehicles and 2, outbuildings, doesn't look residential to me. As far as I'm concerned, that's my one sticking point is, where was it? What's the name of it? Yeah, neighborhood character. It just, and I know the neighbors don't mind it, and I get it. But it doesn't give a neighborhood character feel to it. I have a problem with that. And I don't know how we get around it. I honestly don't. Because I don't know what conditions we can put. Condition that he, gets rid of 1 truck in a year. I don't know. He needs what he's got. I don't know what we can put in for conditions. I'm stuck with that.
So if we were to make the conditions not stringent, but clarifying to say he can run a type A business, he's down to 1 truck. And the backyard, I read those first group of things were the type A issues. And that's if we don't give him a special permit, he goes down to type A.
Yep, that's the way to do it.
I have one suggestion, Mr. Chair, if I may, just try to move it along.
Sure.
The applicant has indicated he's gradually winding down. We have established that by and large, the neighbors are seem to be okay with this. We've also established that the board is uncomfortable with setting what they feel is a precedent, even if it's not exactly. So perhaps a compromise that would be in the interest of everybody involved would be if we could take and say that this is a winding down of the large scale operation, and perhaps like a 1 year or 1 or 2 year special permit with a understanding that this is a 1 year to have all these vehicles, and by the next special permit, there's got to be removal, and we're down to a level where the board feels is comfortable, or so on like that. So we could incrementally move towards achieving all the goals while being sensitive to the applicant's needs, and also respecting all the input that we've had from the community. And at least that way we could say there's a level of control over what's being improved in the neighborhood. We could say that the board has done their best to address all the concerns that they've heard in a very difficult and taxing process. And we also can help the applicant prepare to wind down the way, as he indicated, it was something he had intended to do all along. It's not perfect, no, but it's a start, and it would move things forward. And that's what I would think.
Yeah, that's sort of where I was leaning to, that the criteria, if we phrased a motion for the type B special permit, the criteria is he could keep the 3 trucks for X, 1 year. And after 1 year, he has to be back in front of us with only 2 trucks, and so on down the line. And then the landscape tractor, he insists that that's personal use, but the landscape tractor is a heavy vehicle, landscape vehicle, heavy construction equipment on the property. That's very specific in our bylaws, that a residential neighborhood doesn't need heavy construction equipment. So if we were to write criteria for that with a 1-year renewal period in front of the board again. Brad, Jerry, Leslie, Jackie, what do you think?
I
Brad?
agree.
Yeah,
I like-
I think that's I think that's a great idea. I think that trying to kill his business, today, is finding a way out of it is the way to do it. I don't think there's a way that he could screen these vehicles. I don't think there's a way that he's gonna be able to get around the option of having all these vehicles around. So yeah, if he wants to ramp, I think finding a way to ramp it down and we see measured progress of it, I think that's a great idea.
Mhm.
Leslie?
Am I on? Yeah, I agree, and I think that he will need to maintain the level of I don't
Organization.
know, just call, yes, organization. That's a good term. The level of organization that we've seen today. And we may or may not want to tweak that when we meet with him in a year. Certainly, we would want to do a site visit again in a year.
Jackie, are you sort of leaning that way too?
Yes, I think that's a good way to do it. I think that's why we're here is, we've needed to look at it holistically, and I think this is a good solution.
So give me some criteria. In 1 year, what do we expect to see?
One less
Yeah,
vehicle.
one less commercial vehicle, preferably the dumpster truck. That'll kill sort of two birds with one stone, getting rid of the on-site storage of waste. But
Okay.
hey, that's just my suggestion.
And what other criteria?
Could I also add that that all the vehicles are that are there are registered and inspected?
They really should be if they're on the road.
They should be, but I think the dumpster truck may not move very much, so that one might lapse. I don't know.
What about the landscape tractor? In 1 year, what do you expect with that?
I would expect it to find a place where it would be screened and covered.
Well, it's pseudo screen now. It's sort of
right.
It's like an elephant in a mill pond. It's sticking out both ends.
Right. So maybe there's something a little bit better that can be done.
And what about the other screened areas? There was that one lattice work screening hiding about 4 or 5 big yellow things.
I'm okay with that.
Okay to leave it in 1 year. What do you want to do with it? Anything?
I don't think it wasn't obvious to me. I would hope it wouldn't be to anyone that might look upon it. I'm okay with it being the same.
Okay. Anybody else on comments for that?
No, I agree. I think it's got some good criteria already.
Is that enough to phrase a motion? Because the last criteria would be back in front of this board if he wants to continue after 1 year, which this permit would have expired.
Mr. Chair, just one point of clarification, if the board does feel that they're going to make a motion. The first is when we said one less commercial vehicle at the follow-up, does that mean a total of 2 commercial vehicles?
That's the better way to say it, yes.
Okay. And the second, just to give the applicant a chance with or some time to work on it. I would clarify that the whatever the approval period is, or whatever, if it's a year or whatever, would be from the effective date of the permit, so that way the appeal period goes through, and that's how we've typically done special permits that have a fairly a fairly soon renewal. So it'd be 1 year from effective date would be my recommendation.
Okay. So we have 4 criteria in 1 year. Total of 2 commercial vehicles. The vehicles are registered and inspected. Better screening for the tractor. And a 1 year expiration of this permit, which could be renewed at that point, pending a meeting with the zoning board.
Mr. Chair, I think you also said that the yard should be kept in the same organizational state as it is.
Great, I forgot that one. Thank you. Anything else I missed?
Nope.
Now, his letter asking for things, 1 was on the vehicles, 2 was on the vehicles, 3 was this 25-gallon spraying equipment unit. And number 5, I can't figure out what the issue is. Because it's a full paragraph, and I don't know what the item is he's asking for.
Mr. Chairman, I believe I know what that's referring to.
Yeah, please help me out.
Well, that was, I think, just a clarification of the location of some of the storage structures, but those are not out of compliance with zoning bylaws. So those are not anything that needs to come before this board.
All right, because this is the paragraph that runs between 2 pages. Allowance of an existing shelter. I skipped that one because I agree with you. But the next one is just a lot of words. So I think we've got them, except for this 25-gallon spraying equipment unit. And so I'm wondering where that unit is now. I'm wondering if it was one of those things behind the lattice work in front of the trucks sticking outside, or if it's in one of the sheds.
I think some of it was. As you and I, Paul, saw that there was a hose reel, a white hose reel that was in the back there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that was protected by the lattice and also by the commercial vehicles, or the one non-commercial vehicle that was there.
So how are we going to address that? Is that acceptable? You want to put them in the shed?
I don't have a problem with it where it is. I mean,
Okay. I'm just trying to, we want to clarify, because those are the specific
you may
points.
want to move it so it doesn't, so the weather doesn't destroy it, but.
Yeah. I had one of those sprayer units, not as big as his, and ice does nasty things to that.
Oh.
I thought high pressure could handle anything, but it can't handle ice. So that we have it, okay? Total of 2 commercial vehicles, registered and inspected vehicles, better screening for the tractor, same organizational state as it is now, and a 1 year effective, the date expiring effective 1 year from the date of the permit.
1 year from the effective date of the permit, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The thing is, I can't make the motion. I was going to let Leslie do that.
Okay. Am I on? I make a motion to grant the the applicant's request for a special permit to operate an accessory home-based business type B at 30-32 Walnut Street to allow overnight outdoor parking of 2 additional, although I guess now it will be 3 Am I correct?
No, total of two.
A total of 2 additional commercial vehicles associated
No,
with.
total, just simple total of 2, no additional, just 2 commercial
Okay.
vehicles.
Parking of 2 commercial vehicles. And with the criteria that was just stated by our chairman. Are you going to make me say all that again?
No, the point is, at 1 year, we
Oh,
want a
yeah.
total of 2.
Okay.
So sorry I garbled it for you. It's my fault.
Okay.
So 1 year from the effective date of this permit, he is to be at a total of 2 commercial vehicles.
Okay.
And if I may, Leslie, you just want to reiterate that the findings, the board's
Okay.
findings and the findings were the basis of this decision as discussed.
Well, is that all the business about that he resides on site and all of that?
You can just say as discussed and they'll.
Oh, okay.
Right.
In keeping with the findings as discussed.
And don't forget the other criteria, Leslie, about the registered vehicles.
Oh,
Better-
okay. So that he have better screening for the tractor, that the vehicle shall be registered and inspected, that the yard be kept in the same organizational state as it was in which we saw it tonight, and that he shall appear before the board again a year from the effective date of the granting of the permit, at which time all this will
So that effective date
Point
hasn't
we will
happened
have-
yet. We got to write it,
Right.
sign it, and get it approved.
right. And do we need to state anything about the 25-gallon spraying unit?
Yes, but what should we say about it? He's asking for the allowance of it being there.
Yes.
It's probably that device behind the lattice work. And I think
We
it was
agreed.
Brad and Jerry said that's okay the way it is now.
Yeah, we've agreed to accept it.
Okay.
So put that in there
Um,
too, that it can stay behind the lattice screening.
Okay, and the 25-gallon spraying unit is permitted but must be kept behind screening.
Okay? Is that everything? I hope it is.
Yep.
Okay.
Good. I need a second.
I'll second.
Jerry seconded. See, Jackie, if you had your camera on.
Next time I will, I promise.
All right. So just to remind the board, the motion is in the positive. We need, what is it, 4 votes to approve? If we
Yes.
don't get 4 votes, that special permit motion is not approved if we don't get the 4 votes. Then we can decide what we're going to do if it turns out to be a no vote or a negative answer. Excuse me. So, Jerry,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Leslie,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
and I'll be a yes as well. So with that, I like to pass it off on to Bill to put him on the spot because Bill has all the dates and timing down pat.
Well, I do, and I think this will be the last one I'll do, and then Zoe will do the next one. But I think she probably knows already. But Daniel, what'll happen is I will go ahead and draft a decision that reflects the board's determinations. It'll be filed with the clerk. There's an appeal period, which is why we wanted to ensure that you weren't penalized for the extra time. that the appeal period takes place. At that point, you'll receive the final special permit, and there's a few things you want to do that, which will be explained in a letter about how you memorialize it. But most importantly, we want to make sure that the zoning enforcement officer is aware of this and that you've been working and trying to resolve everything. And we'll be in touch. And thank you, everybody, for your patience. I know this was a difficult one for everybody, from the applicant to the ZBA and everything. And I thank you all for the patience and the good job at working this through.
And I especially want to thank Lisa for staying with us this whole evening.
My
Make
pleasure.
sure that I didn't screw it up too bad.
You did a fine job, Mr. Chair, as always.
So is there any other business? I don't have the agenda in front of me, Bill.
We're short on minutes. They'll be, I think, Zoe, am I correct? We do not have minutes.
You are correct. We do not have minutes.
I anticipate we'll be caught up next month. We just had some problems and some hiccups there getting them all together, but they should be up by next month, at the next month meeting.
Good.
So I need another motion.
I make a motion to close the tonight's meeting.
Jerry?
Second.
Excellent. So in favor, Brad?
Yes.
Leslie? Yes.
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Jerry said yes, I think, and I'm a
Yes.
yes. So thank you very much, everybody, and thank you.
Hang on.
Go ahead, Leslie.
We know the date of the next meeting,
A month from now.
but
don't
is
know
it
the
like
date.
the last Monday?
Yeah, it should be, unless there's a holiday or something. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see. It looks to me like the 22nd.
Monday, the 29th.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, good.
Okay, thanks.
Asking the wrong person. There we go. Thanks, Zoe.
And Bernard, I hope you'll come back to another meeting. They usually don't they don't go month after month after month like this.
This is a good break dinner.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you, Lisa.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.